So, Anita
I'm not a fan of video games.
Sarkeesian has finally finished her Tropes vs. Women in Video Games series. The bafflingly successful Kickstarter series funded in 2013. And supposed to be done and dusted within about a year or so if I remember rightly. And not the 4 years it's actually taken. What is it with getting loads of cash that seems to demotivate people? If someone gave me 10 times the money I needed to complete a project, I would drop everything and get that shit done as fast as possible. Maybe get some help to get it out faster. Anyway, to celebrate this momentous occasion, we're going to take a look at the final episode in the series and see just how wrong one person can be. Go ahead, Neety Poo. We are waiting with bated breath.
Okay, it looks like I can open them from here, but I won't be able to come in with you.
Good. Friggin' NPCs do nothing but get in the goddamn way.
In 2013, 2K Games released BioShock Infinite, the eagerly anticipated follow-up to the earlier, hugely successful BioShock games. Infinite's story centers on a man named Booker DeWitt.
No, it doesn't. The story centers on Elizabeth, like, blatantly. She gets more characterization, more development, everything. The story is about Elizabeth. If anything, the player character is the sidekick within the story. A blunt instrument to get things done while the interesting stuff happens to Liz. But what would I know? I only played the damn thing.
A private investigator with a bloody past who takes on a mysterious assignment. Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt.
Sometimes it feels like everything she knows about any particular game comes from the box art and the blurb.
What follows is Booker's adventure to the flying city of Columbia, where the girl, Elizabeth, has been imprisoned in a tower for her entire life. Busting her out of captivity while she busts out of her corset.
Meh, I've seen a bigger pair of tits. Like you and John McIntosh together. Ha 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 ha!
Booker shoots his way across Columbia, getting caught up in all sorts of drama in the process, as the game tells players a garbage story which suggests that oppressed people are just as bad as their oppressors and that the truth is always somewhere in the middle.
No, that's not even... Seriously. I make the joke, but did you actually play the game? And do you even understand the words and the stories? Holy shit. The story of BioShock Infinite is a complex web of different smaller stories, one of them that happens to be about sky racists and their underclass. That tries to show that while you should fight oppression by any means necessary isn't necessarily a good tactic, because any means includes burning a bunch of kids alive or some other fucked up shit. Basically, a noble cause is not justification for barbarity. But the whole, maybe it's somewhere in the middle, is just stupid. Nuance doesn't mean balance fallacy. God, I've remembered why I hate your videos so much.
But that's much too big a can of worms for us to open in this video. Let's just focus on Elizabeth.
You're right. Probably best not to stack the pile of things you don't understand too high.
Elizabeth possesses an incredible ability to open portals to other timelines, an ability that plays a significant role in the plot as Booker and Elizabeth hop forward and backward and from side to side in time.
Yeah man, she sounds freaking borings, ancillaries, and pointlesses. Damn you, patriarchy, creating female characters with no interesting superpowers and zero personality. Apart from the interesting superpowers and the great personality.
Leaping from one version of Columbia to another, and sometimes thrusting Booker into the past or the future. So as a plot device which drives elements of the game's narrative, she's very significant. In gameplay terms, however, Elizabeth serves a different kind of role, that of a glorified door opener.
There you go.
She's an NPC. All NPCs are there to serve the player in one way or another, at least in terms of gameplay. How could that ever be different? We are not here to serve our robot masters quite yet, and I'm happy to keep it that way.
As with most shooters, BioShock Infinite often puts you into situations where you can't progress until you've cleared an area of enemies. The way it frequently does this is by blocking doors to the next area that can't be opened by Booker. Only Elizabeth can do this, which she does only when all the enemies have been killed.
It's a gameplay trope. A kind of lame one, but there's not really a lot of better ways to do it if you don't want to sacrifice pacing. I won't go into pacing. It's probably just another concept that will fly over your head and you'll just assert that it's sexist because reasons.
For all of her tremendous powers, Elizabeth is reduced by the game's mechanics to doing the most basic and menial of tasks.
Like opening portals that can send you both back and forward through time and space. I don't think you know what basic and menial mean.
And waiting around for her to open a door becomes a significant aspect of how players experience her.
This is a game that takes over 10 hours to beat. 10 hours. You know how much meaningful interaction I have with my partner in 10 hours, even on a day where we're busy together. It's certainly not constant, I'll tell you that. And if I had to fight off hordes of goons every 5 minutes, it'd probably be even less. I don't know what you expect, Anita, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't make any sense, would be unfeasible to write that amount of content, and nobody would want it inside a game that's supposed to be, oh I don't know, a game.
Let me scout ahead, see if there's some way to move forward.
Sounds to me like you literally can't progress without her. Almost like she's important. Nah, probably just sexism. God, you're dumb.
Of course, she performs other actions as well, sometimes tossing Booker ammo, first aid, or other useful items.
Yeah, she's literally one of the most useful NPCs ever created in gaming. In fact, she's so useful that she breaks the trope of, I wish I didn't have this NPC bogging me down and ruining my fun. She doesn't require babysitting, and she finds useful equipment. She's an asset, an ally, and literally the worst choice of characters for this ridiculous series of yours. But you would have known that if you played the video games, babe.
Or opening tears through which he can have her summon things like weapons or killer robots to help him in combat. Doing the most basic and menial of tasks, killer robots, basic and menial killer robots, basic and menial killer robots. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with the idea of characters who play a supporting role in combat situations.
Oh great, that's it. Time to finish the video. Bye!
But Elizabeth
Fuck.
is an example of a female sidekick who is reduced to a tool.
You're a tool.
There aren't gameplay mechanics that allow you to have meaningful interactions with her. She can have her summon things like weapons or killer robots to help him in combat.
It's so great that you supply me with everything I need to prove you wrong in your own damned video. But here's the thing. Elizabeth is not a fighter. Again, if you had played the game, you would know that. Booker is the soldier. So what would you expect her to do aside from the things she already does, the things that make her invaluable, that make you feel a little lost when she's not around, the things that make her one of my favourite NPCs in gaming?
There aren't gameplay mechanics that allow you to have meaningful interactions with her. She can have her summon things like weapons or killer robots to help him in combat. She just opens doors and dispenses useful things, and her tear opening powers are not her own, but yours to call on and control with the press of a button.
It's almost like it's a bloody game! You know what would be fun? A game where you have no control. God, you have no concept of what video games are, do you?
Elizabeth, a little help?
Looks simple enough.
At other times, she's less like a person and more like a sexualized slot machine tossing you the occasional coin.
Here you go.
What? In your own footage, right here, tell me exactly where she's sexualized. Is it the ankle-length dress? Or God forbid she might have a teeny tiny bit of cleavage showing. Way to body shame. Of course, we know the real issue. She's not a total munter, and anyone who makes Anita feel a little less body confident is bad. Get over yourself.
As a glorified gatekeeper, Elizabeth joins a long tradition of female sidekicks, including Alex from Half-Life 2 and its follow-up episodes, and Yorda from the much-beloved Ico, whose magic is needed to activate doors, staircases, and other mechanisms that allow players to advance.
Have you ever actually played any games whatsoever? Sidekicks, regardless of gender or even species, usually have some sort of skill that the player character doesn't, in order to justify their existence from a gameplay standpoint. It's one of the things that makes escort missions all the more frustrating, usually because you have to keep some dopey moron alive to get through whatever contrived doorway the developer has come up with. It's got nothing to do with women. You are borderline bonkers, you know that.
Yorda also has a distinction of being the quintessential example of what I call the damsel escort mission. You know, after making 3 whole videos about damsels, I'd kinda hoped to never have to talk about them again. But gaming's love of using helpless women as both narrative and gameplay devices was too much for even those videos to contain.
God forbid a developer use a simple narrative trope to quickly make an understood connection between the player and the objective of the game. You are X. X loves Y. Go save Y. It's not because Y belongs to X, by the way. That's just your psychotic fever dream that constitutes your version of reality.
Damsel escort missions occur when a female character joins the male player character, but is largely helpless, and rather than being a clear benefit to the player, she feels more like a burden.
Yes, but that's bad game design. Usually a lazy developer trying to artificially increase the difficulty for a segment. Again, nothing to do with women. There are useless male escort characters. But you won't mention them because either you're mad or dishonest, or I'm going to go with little column A, little column B.
In Ico, players free Yorda from a cage early on. She then joins Ico on this journey, and much of the game consists of solving puzzles so that Yorda, who can't make leaps or climb walls on her own, can traverse the environment. Meanwhile, players also need to protect her from the shadow monsters who sometimes try to whisk her away.
And all of that story via gameplay is about sexism, rather than a tale of 2 abandoned souls coming together to overcome obstacles that alone they would fail. Nah, it's all about tits and ass, or some other such nonsense. You mad bint.
Spoiler alert. Yes, in the ending cutscene, Yorda carries Ico out of the crumbling castle. But what the narrative tells us or shows us in the end doesn't undo the impact of how we experience a character through the gameplay.
The narrative throughout the game is the point of having that ending, you dunce. It shows character development. Ico is the strong one at the start and Yorda is timid and weak, but by the end she has the power to save him and... I'm wasting my breath, aren't I? You have no idea what storytelling is about. You certainly have zero comprehension about narrative through gameplay. You have the simplistic worldview of a 4-year-old. A 4-year-old that cherry picks every last data point that they find in order to suit an insane narrative that doesn't even remotely reflect reality. I cannot be arsed anymore. I got other crap to do, like drowning myself in a lake. In this whole series, you have proven over and over again that
I'm not a fan of video games.
But I think you just aren't a fan of art in general. Other people's expression not only flies over your head every goddamn time, but simultaneously sends you into a blind misandrist rage about sexism in video games. Games aren't sexist, Anita. You are. Now get out, Normie, and don't come back.